Hi soldiers, welcome again to my YouTube channel, and today I'll be talking about finishing techniques, and one of those finishing techniques is a blind hem stitch. So let me just briefly tell you what it is. This is a corporate trouser, right? I'm just showing you how it is neatly made. Okay, so a blind hem stitch is a method of hemming your corporate wears. It could be a corporate trouser, it could be a corporate gown. This is the hem, and you want to hem it in a way that there is no visible seam line on the trouser. Okay, so that is what a blind hem stitch does. You go ahead and do that with your sewing machine. You can do that with your tabletop domestic sewing machine, the Singer brother and the rest of them. You can do it with that if you have the presser foot, the blind hem foot. Okay, you can do it with that, but in the absence of that, you can absolutely do it with your hand needle. So right here, what I'm doing is I am threading my needle. I am making sure I'm using a matching thread. And when working with something like this, when you're trying to make a blind hem stitch, you want to use a beading needle. I prefer to use a beading needle because it's very small. Remember, what you're trying to achieve is a stitch that when you're done with it, there is nothing showing in front of your trouser, but it's still very secure so that your client wears it and the hem is not folding out. Okay, now you have no business with hemming gum, because once you wash, hemming gum pulls off. So hemming gum is quite temporary. Anything glue, I do not like it. So but when you do this, you end up having something that stays for as long as possible until you can rip it with your needle or any other sharp object. So right here, I'm about to start. I've threaded my needle. Just fold your trouser like so, and you go ahead and pick a yarn. Can you see how little I picked it? Go ahead and pick a yarn from the side I just picked from. The next one, you'll be picking from the longer one. That one you can pick as little as you picked at the other end, but you can absolutely pick more because this part is behind. It's actually not in front of your fabric. Then you go ahead and pick again a yarn from the other part. Then you go ahead and check the front. I didn't know my camera wasn't showing properly. So when you do that, you make sure that you check if it is showing in front. Remember, the whole aim of this whole thing is to ensure that there is no visible thread in front of your pants. There's no visible threading from at the hem of your either dress or your trouser or anything at all that you're making. Okay, so I'm going to do this again so you can see how I did it. I've done the first one. Give about 1 inch or 2 inches space and do the second one. Okay, you try to just maintain the same distance. If you want, you can go ahead and mark 1.5 inch. I strongly advise that you don't do it as close as possible and you do not pull when you're doing it. So right here, I'm picking a yarn again, as little as possible, something that is not big enough for it to show in front of your fabric. When you pick from that end, you pick from the longer one. You pick just a little again, so this holds the two pieces in place, and just go ahead and pick the third time from the first one you picked a yarn from. Remember, this is the part that will obviously show in front, and now I'm checking and it's not showing in front, so yes, I'm on the right track. So you've secured it. Remember, the first one is on the part that is supposed to show in front. If you make a mistake and make it and pick way more than you should pick, the second one is on the longer one, and the third one is back again on that first one. So here again, I'm doing it for the third time. A very little piece, a yarn. Remember, your fabric is made up of yarns, tiny threads, tiny things that run across each other. I'll pick another one from this other one, like so. Here, it doesn't really have to be that small because this is the back of your trouser, the back of your hem. Even if it shows, it's not a problem. But you want to be very careful with this other part so that it does not show. You want to pick as little as possible so that it doesn't show in front. Can you see what this looks like now? I go ahead and check again. I flip it over to my front. Can you see there's nothing visible in front? My hem is still looking as seamless as it was before. So you just maintain this. I'm doing it again the fourth time. I'll pick a very tiny yarn This is why it's important to work with a beading needle, because it's very tiny, so you can absolutely pick as little as possible, as opposed to a normal sized sewing needle, hand needle. You pick another one from the other end, and you pick the third one again from the first one you picked a little yarn from, which is the part that will clearly show in front, remember. So you pick a little one, as little as possible. And when I'm done again, I'll check, I'll pull over, I'll check my front, I'll be sure that it's not showing, right? So I'm basically going to do this all through and around my hem. Okay, I'm trying to maintain the same distance all through. Now the essence of doing this is to still maintain your very neat finishing. You can absolutely go ahead and run a stitch. It is faster. Run a stitch on your hem. It is faster. It won't take you as much time as this is going to take. But I'm absolutely an advocate for neat finishing. And when I talk about neat finishing, you don't end up messing up the good work you've done so far with just a hem, right? So there's something called premium service, and when you offer premium services, you go all out for it. So if you're making something that looks like this, if you're making a corporate trouser, you should absolutely go ahead and hem like this, as opposed to running a stitch, okay, with your sewing machine. So now I just sped it up because I'm basically doing the same thing all through the hem of the trouser. So if it's not so clear, you can go ahead and see the 4 or 5 times I did it on the normal time lapse. This is sped up so that you can see clearly how I went about it, okay? Also, remember your hemming technique is completely dependent on the outfit you're working on. This is a corporate pant. As you can see, the hem is bold. This is about 2 inches on fold. Now if you were working with probably an A-line dress or a normal circle dress, your hem won't be this bold, and you'll be absolutely, you have no need for this kind of hem. There'll be no need for a blind hem stitch. This is because when you're working with a circle dress or an A-line dress or a frill dress, anything like that, you just need to make a rolled hem. A very tiny hem is okay, and with that you go ahead and run it with your sewing machine. So different methods of hemming will completely depend on what you're making. So right here I am done with it, and I'm just securing my thread. I'm securing my stitch. I've tied it. I've go ahead to make a double knot, and now I am tying it again just to be sure that I've secured it very well. And right here, this is what it looks like at the end of the day. So you flip over. Even though I wasn't so particular about the inside, it is still not showing. It's not really obvious because you folded before you started sewing. The little extra allowance covers up everything. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Meanwhile, this is the full fit of the 2-piece, and it's absolutely gorgeous.